G'day guys, my name's Scott Alexander King and I'm from Animal Dreaming based here in Australia. I'm located in far north New South Wales on the east coast of Australia, about 12 hours north of Sydney, just inland from the iconic Byron Bay, which I'm hoping a lot of you have heard of. It's a beautiful beach town and I hope you enjoy what it is that I have to share today. I'm going to talk a bit about myself, then I'm going to talk a bit about what I do, then I'm going to talk a bit about what you can do to strengthen your relationship to the Earth Mother, the animals and nature as a whole. How does that sound? Pretty good? Okay, so as I said, my name's Scott Alexander King. I was, without trying to sound sorry for myself, born into a pretty rough family. A lot of neglect, a lot of abuse, and as a result, I found it much safer and much more beneficial emotionally for me to isolate myself, to separate myself as much as I possibly could from my family life or the home environment. So of course I took to the hills. I spent most of my childhood and most of my time in nature. I loved nothing more than sitting, we had a beautiful forest across the road from where we lived growing up, and at one point, and there was a deciduous tree that was always like the best place to be. Climbing that tree was wonderful, and in the autumn of course all the leaves fell, but there was a little stream nearby and it was just an idyllic little spot. But the best part was that there was an abundance of animals. And I remember one time, when things were just a bit rough inside, I remember lying underneath our outdoor setting. We had like a table and chairs in the garden, and I remember hiding under there, or going under there for some reason, and watching the spiders, which we have a lot of here in Australia, spiders weaving their webs and unweaving their webs. Like I would see them in the mornings pulling the webs apart from the night before. And then as the evening came on, they'd start to reweave again. And I thought that was really weird because to my eyes, my innocent eyes, those spider webs were beautiful, like they were perfect. And I often at that time wondered, why would they be pulling those perfectly good webs apart? And then it dawned on me that those spiders were showing me something terribly, terribly important, and I have never forgotten the advice these spiders gave me. I realized that they were pulling their web apart in the morning because it had obviously not served its purpose. If that spider web was still perfect in the morning, it meant they hadn't caught anything. And you know, as a little spider, if they go 2 or 3 days without eating, there's a big chance they'll starve to death. So in the morning, they realized this web's a dud. It's no good. So they would pull it apart and then reweave it to improve it, to enhance it. Now I'm sure you've all, so the next night, they had a better chance of capturing insects as they were flying past. Just changing the slight angle perhaps of the web would have made all the difference to their success in catching those bugs. And I realized that I'd heard this expression, the web of life. Like if you've ever, watched something like The Lion King, for example, I talk about the circle of life. Well, the web of life is no different. It talks about the structure and the organization and the interrelationship and the interaction, like with everything around us. That's what the web of life is all about. And how one thing, offers something to the next thing in the web, in the chain of things, in the cycle. And I realized that these spiders were telling me as a child that it was in my power to reweave my life web. It was in my power to make choices. It was in my power to make changes. And when I realized that, I was able to proceed. I was able to take their advice. I realized if they can do it, so can I. And so I started every day, gradually changing my web, reweaving my life web so that it served me and no one else. Like, because my life at that time, I felt I was in more, service to everyone else, as I had no purpose. I had no reason to be here. So the spiders taught me that wasn't at all true. And then of course I started to think, well, if they're telling me that, well, what else? What are the other animals telling me? And that's where my journey started. I remember looking to the animals from that day on and wondering what it is that they were trying to teach me. All these years later, of course, I've written several books about the topic, and I've got oracle cards and things that I've produced. And with the intention of trying to encourage people to look to nature and to look to the medicine ways of the animals, or the dreaming, if you like, of the animals. In my world, dreaming means knowledge. It means power. It means not, and power, not control. Power is knowledge. So the animals, when I use the word dreaming, I'm referring to that knowledge and that wisdom that comes to us when our mind is still and our mind is uncluttered with inner chatter or the need to know or the need to control, So when we can still all that, that's when the animals talk. And so I've got my books, I've got several books, but the main one is called Animal Dreaming, which is essentially a book of animal wisdom. Animal wisdom. The word dreaming means, to me, that place within where we can access, if we just still our mind. It's that quiet place, the darkness within. It's the knowledge that comes from another place, like a deep, ancient, primal place. And of course, everyone recognises that word in relation to our Australian Aboriginal people, and to them, it might mean 1,000 different things, but to me, that's what it refers to. It talks about the wisdom, the knowledge, the power, knowledge that comes with understanding and being connected to all things in a human way. Trying to live our life in a more interrelated way is terribly important as far as I'm concerned, and that's what animal dreaming is all about, to encourage people to tap into that knowledge and that power. So the other book I have, which I'd like to show you right now, is World Animal Dreaming. So this one is all about the Australian animals, and this one is about animals outside Australia. There's a little section, a list of animals from Australia in there as well, but I wrote these books because I wanted to leave a legacy for my children, so that they, could find me long after I've gone. They could still consult with me and chat with me through my books about, what does this animal mean, what does that. So I'll be forever able to offer my children advice, even though after I've long gone. But the other main focus was to get this understanding out into the world, that if we just still our mind, if we just quieten the inner chatter, we can access that sacred space. We can access that void where nature and Mother Earth and the animals are communicating all the time. All right, so as I said, animal dreaming is a path for me. It's a shamanic path. It's a path that I know if I can follow it, for goodness sake, anyone can, because it's not complicated, and I'm a Virgo, so my brain is always racing. So it's if I can still my mind, anyone can. And it's terribly important for me to get people to understand that, we are a part of this big journey together. We are living on this beautiful blue and green planet together, and we share this beautiful planet with 1,000 other people. Just, some of them just happen to be human. And so the animals to me are like people. They're communicators, they're messengers, they're guides, they're support, they're help. And so if we were to sit quietly, and this is what I do, I sit quietly in the garden or just in my own space. I could be drawing or I could be writing, and I'll just have this moment where I just have a question, and I'll just still my mind, and I'll just ask the spirits of the land, I'll ask the ancestors, I'll ask the animal spirits, I'll ask the Earth Mother herself just to listen up for a sec, and I'll share that prayer, I'll share that question. And then I know I don't even have to worry about it. I just trust. I don't have to trust. I just know it's going to happen. That very, very shortly, the Earth Mother, the animal spirits, the ancestors will all respond by sending a messenger my way, an animal messenger. And they're physical. So, they're right there. And so when you see the animal, this means something. This has been sent to me for a reason. It could appear, on a t-shirt. It could appear on a street sign. It could appear physically in front of you as an animal, or you could turn the television on. There's a documentary about buffalo or elephants, whatever. They're all visitations. You've got to see them. And when you've received 3 visitations by the same animal, then that's when I know that that's my answer. And I don't argue. I just do what I'm told, and things always pan out. They just pan out because the Earth Mother knows what she's doing. Spirit never makes mistakes, ever. And although it seems like they might overlook you sometimes or forget about you or throw you stuff that you don't want, Spirit never ever makes mistakes. And we have to understand that everything happens for a reason, and the animals live like that. That's how they live. They don't sit and question or quibble or argue about their lot in life. They just move forward, and they take what they need, and they don't take any more than that, and they proceed. And that's so taking that knowledge and that information on board, when you have the animals actually offering personal advice along the way, you can't make a mistake anymore. It's like you know what you need to do and the path becomes clear. So that's what animal dreaming is to me. It's that understanding that the animals are listening. They're right there. The earth is our mother. She loves us. She provides everything we need, for goodness sake. We don't import from other places yet, but the earth mother supplies us with everything. So and it's up to us to make good with that. So she's listening. She wants all her children, which are us. They're all brothers and sisters in her mind, and we're all her children. So she wants us all to thrive. She wants us all to do well. She doesn't want us to be hungry or to be scared or to be alone or to be cold or to be hungry. So that's, in a way, lots of ways, that's because we've disconnected from her, and we've disconnected from our greater spirit, and we've disconnected from that interconnected part, that link of who we are in the greater scheme of things, our little part on the web, if you like. That little part is a dream catcher. That, like, I see this little crystal here, this little shell, sorry, as being me in the greater scheme of things. I see this as being me in the web of life. So if I honor my role, if I look after my little part of the web, then whoever's responsible for that part of the web or that part of the web or that part, they'll be supported as well. We all work together, and the animals do that. So my path is all about encouraging others to look to the Earth Mother. You can pray to the gods, you can pray to the angels, you can pray to whoever you want, as long as you pray. But it's all those things are terribly important, but don't forget that you can also chat directly to your mother, the Earth Mother. You can chat to her, you can chat to the earth, you can chat to the trees, you can chat to the rocks. They're all part of her. To me, the rocks are like the skeleton, if you like, of the Earth Mother. The grass are like her hair, the rivers are like her veins. Like, she is a living entity, and she mirrors us, or we mirror her rather, in every single way. Like 70% water, we've got a heartbeat. When we get sick, we start to sweat and start to shake. Well, she's doing that as well right now, so she's unwell. But when we shake, we're trying to warm ourselves up. When we're shivering, or when we're purging, we're trying to expel whatever it is that's making us unwell. And so we have to take responsibility for that we are actually causing her a great deal of pain and suffering right now, and she's trying to heal herself. And the only way we can support that process is by healing ourselves and reconnecting our relationship, if you like, or rekindling that relationship we have with the Earth Mother. Basically going to her and say, listen, Mum, listen, Gaia, or whoever you like to call her. She's 10,000 plus names. You can call her whatever you like, and I know she'll listen. You can chat to her and just say, look, I'm really sorry that I haven't been paying attention, or I haven't been a part of your life as well as I could be. I've been wandering a bit alone, and I realize that it's lonely to do that. So you can rekindle the relationship by just chatting to her and vowing to listen to the messages that she sends. And that could easily be sparrows landing on your at the cafe while you're eating your scone and cup of tea or whatever, and that sparrow coming to visit, and just understanding, well, that sparrow's here for a reason. It's trying to teach me something. And the question could be, what does sparrow represent? What's the message of sparrow? You can attain that knowledge very simply by looking at the way the sparrow lives. What does it eat? Is it a predatory bird? Is it more of a bird that others prey on? Is it a nighttime bird, or is it a daytime bird? All this information, when you gather it all together and analyze it, you'll find the answer deep within that. Or why are they called welcome swallows? Why are they called, or not swallows, sparrows? Why are they called house sparrows? Why are they called that? Like, where does that name come from? Google that. Get a relationship with sparrow, and you'll understand that the animals, just by simply being, are talking to you every day. And that symbology. Is there any poems about sparrows? Is there any myths or legends about sparrow? Look at them all. Build your relationship, gather the knowledge, then move to the next animal that you encounter, and gather a library of. And after a while, that knowledge becomes a language that you can chat to the Earth Mother quite fluently with, or rather, listen to what she's saying to you. I hope all this makes sense, because in my world, it's very simple. I'm a very uncomplicated person. Like, I can't handle being bombarded with lots of information. I can't handle being overloaded. I need things to be simple and practical, and they need to make sense. And to me, chatting to the animals, to the Earth Mother makes sense. To the crystals, to the trees, to the rocks, they're all here. They share the planet with us. So it makes sense to me to chat to them, rocks and crystals have been around for ever such a long time, and we haven't, but they have. And so if you want to know about the whys and wherefores, wouldn't it make sense to chat to an elder like that, who understands the past, who has knowledge and history and a long-standing relationship with the forces of nature? Like, wouldn't it be better to chat to that entity or that energy to gather that sort of information? The listening is the hard bit, because our mind is scattered. Our minds are often overloaded with things like worry and concern and fear and doubt. It's important to still that, just take that time and to sit in quiet. It's not about being super intuitive. It's not about feeling energy, really. It's not about, well, it is, but it's not about, needing to have skills or you don't have to be psychic to do this work. You don't. It's just about it's about being practical. It's about being still, and it's about trusting, and it's about listening. Simple. Okay, so people often ask me, what is a totem? Like, what is this energy that we're talking about? A totem, in my world, basically just is a spirit friend. It's an animal or a stone or a flower, anything that you hold a spiritual connection to, because not everyone's into animals. Not everyone's wanting to chat to the animals. Some people might be more interested in crystals. Some people might be more interested in flowers or trees. It's all the same. They're all brothers and sisters. They all are related to each other in some way. For example, in my world, the dog, which is all about unconditional love and loyalty, holds a very, very similar energy to rose quartz. And just by its name alone, the rose quartz to me has a connection to the rose flower. They're all about heart connection. They're all about love. They're all about unconditional love. But, the dog teaches us that in order to be, as a pack or an animal, for example, it's an animal that teaches us to honor the pack by watching out for ourselves. So, because if we're not in our peak form, we're not going to be of any use to the pack, and we'll be discarded by the pack. So it's important that we look after ourselves, and dog teaches us to loyalty must come to ourselves. We must show that to ourselves so that we can be there of service to others, and in turn we become a team, we become the pack, or we become a community. And that's what dog teaches: unconditional love and trust and connection and unity and friendship and all those wonderful things that come with knowing that you're part of something like a community or a pack. Cat people, the opposite. They're more solitary, because cats are more aloof. They're separate. They're more driven by their own agenda, and that's usually because cat people, for example, have experienced hardship or pain or suffering earlier on, and they've lost that trust in others. See, it all makes perfect sense. But if you can understand that these totems, these animal spirit friends, are coming your way to offer you guidance as the messengers of the Earth Mother, if you like her voice. I see these animals as being like the voice of the Earth Mother. Your relationship will become stronger, and the totems that you build around you become like your spiritual team. And in some places, people see they have a clan totem, or they have a totem that represents their people, or a group or a collection of people. But then in that group of people that are ruled by a particular family totem or clan totem, they'll see the individuals that share that group with each other. They'll see strengths emerging in one another, or talents or skills, and with those talents and skills, they'll associate that with other totemic energies as well. So we can build our own collection of totems. We can become part of something that's ruled by other totems. Like, for example, football clubs, often they'll have an animal as their logo. That's a totem. Like cars will often, you'll see the logo on, the badge on the car. Like Holden, for example, here in Australia, has a lion as its symbol, and that's a totem. So if we can look at that and understand that, we're surrounded by animal wisdom and animal knowledge at all times, and if you look at this at the intricate detail on those symbols, you'll see that there's information hidden there. For example, the lion, the totem, the badge, of the Holden car, it's a lion, and it's holding a globe with one single claw. It's holding it in place. And I'm not going to analyze that now, but if you look at that and ask, why would that be doing that? Look, and I can't remember the car. There's a car brand, I want to say Alpha, but I don't think it is. Saab, perhaps. I can't remember what it is, but there's the logo is a dragon, and if you look at the dragon closely, it has a man hanging out of its mouth. Weird. The Subaru or whatever people call it overseas, we call them Subarus here. they've got a star constellation as their symbol. Well, that's the Pleiades. That's a star constellation. It's there, and it's like a little map. Look at these things and understand that totems guide us every day. Like, they are there all the time. Some people work with archetypes. Totems and archetypes are the same thing. Like, if you have certain qualities, you can say there's these archetypes that are showing themselves through. Like, if you're, some people are very motherly, so you could say they've got the mother archetype. Or I would say that they work strongly with cow energy, because the cow is the supreme mother. She's the one who provides milk and nourishment. Someone else might have a strong teacher archetype, and in my world that would mean that the wolf walked with them, wolf spirit, because to me the wolf is the ultimate teacher. It teaches us by, giving and sharing, but also teaches by taking away. It's a brutal teacher at times, the wolf, and sometimes it's hard to trust wolf because they're not dogs. They're not loyal. They're not about loyalty to the greater world. They're loyal more to themselves and their pack. And if you don't belong to that pack, then you're on your own in lots of ways. So wolf can be a hard teacher, can be a tricky teacher. If you've got the banker archetype, for example, or the archetype that talks about the accumulation of money or wealth, that could be the squirrel, because they're hoarders. So you understand, so your totems, your archetypes, they're all aspects of who you are and what you are and why you do the things you do. So if we can build a relationship with those totems, we can really get a stronger understanding who we are as people and individuals. But then at the same time, you can also build a stronger understanding of those around you by looking to see what animals are ruling them, and then you can get an understanding of their archetypes and fully better understand why those people do what they do. In my world, being an ex-school teacher, I realized early on that I was working in schools that had a lot of kids in the classroom. Like, at one point, I think I had over 40 kids at one point in one of my classrooms. There was a split class, so we had like a 2 and a 3, grade 2, grade 3 combined in one room. And I realized at that point that couldn't figure out why I'd never seemed to have fights and arguments in my classroom. We were really the kids all got along really, really well with one another, and I realized it was because I had grouped them according to archetypes. So there was, and the archetypes I was looking for primarily at that time in my life were monkeys. I know it sounds weird, but there's 5 archetypal monkeys, and we are all one of those 5 monkeys. Like, we all have one of those 5 monkeys. I don't know why they're monkeys. I don't know why Spirit decided to put that energy into a monkey form for me, but I guess it's because that's how my mind works. That's how my connection to Spirit works. So there's these 5 monkeys, and I don't have it here with me. I couldn't find a copy, but I've written a book, and it's based around those monkeys. It's called Indigo, Children and Cheeky Monkeys, and it talks about each of us as being like a little cosmos, if you like, a little universe in itself. And there's 5 of these little cosmoses, and we are all belonging to one of those little cosmoses. And it talks about, they gave me great insight into the personality of the children, why they did the things they did, why they didn't like doing certain activities and why they liked doing certain activities, or why they were more social with, say, other boys, or if they're a boy, or if they were drawn to more, say, hanging out with the girls. There was lots of 1,000 different reasons, but these particular monkeys gave me insight into how they lived their life and why they did the things they did. Now it's all, and so back to being a teacher, I realized by grouping these monkeys the way I did, there was no conflict, because I would place the complementary ones next to the ones that needed the complementing the most, but also that I knew weren't going to be a bother or a hassle to those kids. And it just gelled. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, I really encourage you to have a look at that book, or to go through my website and message me, animaldreaming.com. You can do that, or through Facebook, and I can send you the link to the book. But it's about understanding who we are and why we do the things we do. Does that make sense? And all that knowledge is right there in front of us. It's within us. It's if we were to ask, what are my archetypes, the spirits would show us what those archetypes were, because by just sending the animals through, I can't explain how it works. I just know it does. And I understand that people think, oh gosh, that is easy for you, but I've just practiced it my whole life. Anyway, so I want to put that aside for a sec, because I I want to talk about a heap of other things, and we've already spent 24 minutes chatting, so I've got a lot to get through. So let's just move on. I want to chat about how do we find out what our animals are? How do we find out what our totems are, or what our animal spirits are? As I said, if you just ask, the spirits will show you. But if you want to actually take that responsibility on yourself, and excuse me for a sec, if you want to take the search on yourself and trust your own insights and look for them yourself, it's very easy. There's a difference between a totem and a power animal. Okay, so a power animal, to me, in my world, represents the strengths and the weaknesses that we have. And that power animal, it's sort of like if you could externalize your soul essence and have it walk beside you, that soul essence, that we could say that was our power animal. Not your soul, but your soul essence. And if you could have that walk beside you forever and ever, and never ever get bored of that presence, or if you were to externalize it into a form and never ever be disappointed with the choice, you'd know that was your power animal. Power animals are simply, you can find that animal by asking, so what's been my most favorite animal my entire life? It's something as simple as that. What's my favorite animal that's been with me my entire life? And that if I could become any animal, I would like it to be that. And I'd like everyone to sort of try and think outside the box of dog or cat, because I'll talk about that in a sec, because we are either, all of us carry dog or cat energy, so I'll chat about that in a sec. But really have a think about, outside the known circle of domestic animals, what is your favorite animal? And you'll be quite surprised what that animal might be. Some people have to stop and really think about that, because they might not live in an area where they have a lot to do with animals. They might not have had much chance to build a relationship with the animal kingdoms. They might not have the knowledge. But if you sat quietly and just allowed yourself time, that animal would reveal itself. And it's the strengths and the power and the way that animal lives. It'll mirror how you view the world. My power animal is the barn owl. I love barn owls. I can't tell you why I love barn owls. I just think they are beautiful. Like, they're so beautiful to look at. And if you've ever held a barn owl, they're so soft and they're so incredibly light, but really strong at the same time. Anyway, my power animal is the barn owl, and I know that when I pass from this world and I journey over the bridge to the spirit world, I know that my spirit will take the form of a barn owl. I know that my soul will leave my body, if you like, in the form of a barn owl. I just know it. And when my kids see the barn owl after my death, because I know they will, they'll know it's me visiting to say I've made it safe to the other side. That's the pact I've made, and that's the relationship I have with the animals, and I truly believe that's what's going to happen. So your power animal is what guides you. It's what gives you the power, the knowledge to be you. It's the one that holds and stores experience, the knowledge from experience, and reminds you when to tap back into that knowledge when we have a repeat pattern in our life, or when something happens and intuitively it reminds us of a past time. Your power animal is the one that goes through the files and says, this is how you handled it last time. This is the support that you had last time from the animal kingdom. Maybe you could revisit that and see if that works. Right? So that's your power animal. It gives you power, it gives you knowledge, it gives you direction, it's the real core of who you are as a person. So then the totems that come after that they're like the support team, and they'll hang with you for a little while until the job's done, and then they may just step to the side, and then you'll find another team of totems have stepped in to support you through the next chapter of your life. They don't ever leave. They just sort of step to the side, and they're always there if you need them, but they might not be as obvious as they once were. Does that make sense? So the animals that we love really give us insight into who we are. Like, they give us a great deal of insight. I love foxes. I love deer. I love animals that weirdly aren't related to Australia. I love our animals too, don't get me wrong, but I'm really drawn to the animals that are more native to, say, your area, your neck of the woods, the UK, just all the animals that are associated with, say, you'll find in stories like Wind in the Willows or Beatrix Potter. Like, they're all the animals that really inspired me as a kid, and they're the animals that make me feel safe. So I know that they're largely a part of my totem team, if you like. Now, So once you've got an understanding of what archetypes are working with you in a positive way, the animal archetypes, and you understand that, you know, you're that everything you do is ruled by one of those animals, or inspired by one of those animals, or guided by one of those animals. You know, it's really fascinating to start considering what about the animals that I don't like, or the animals that I'm afraid of, or the animals that creep me out, like spiders or snakes. And I know that anyone who lives outside Australia talks about the freakiness of Australian wildlife, sharks and, you know, spiders the size of dinner plates and this sort of stuff. But so a lot of Australians have fear of those animals too, but a lot of other people outside Australia just have a morbid fear of them. How about we just shift our perception about these animals, and stop worrying about whether they frighten us or not, and ask why they frighten us? So whenever I ask someone, when I might be on stage or whatever doing a group presentation, I'll say to everyone in the audience, I'll say, you know, who in the room doesn't like snakes? And all these hands will fly up, and then I'll ask why. And then someone might say, well, if they bite you, you die. And then I'll maybe offer them a piece of paper and a pen and say, so maybe you could write down all the names of the people you know have died from snake bite. And they went, it's very, very rare that anyone knows anyone's been bitten by a snake, as opposed to, especially, you know, even less people know of someone who has died of a snake bite, because it's so rare. So it's very important that we ask ourselves the true questions, like, why am I afraid of snakes? It's not because they're going to bite you and you're going to die, because we all know that doesn't happen. Like, it's so rare. So what is the true, what is the core reason? In my world, for example, to have an animal you don't like is because that animal is trying to get you to access a part of yourself, or to look at a part of yourself. Take responsibility, if you like, for a part of yourself that you've shunned or pushed to the back of your mind because it's too hurtful or painful or scary, or, you know, causes grief or sadness. So for example, if you've got a fear of snakes, it's typically or usually because there's something from the past that you haven't resolved yet. There's something that you haven't shed or released or surrendered. There's control perhaps, or there's something that happened to you that shifted your perception of the world, and it's turned you into a different person. Well, we need to address that time. We need to look at that point in our life, and we need to forgive ourselves for those experiences, because often we carry guilt or shame, even if we know that it wasn't our fault. Often we'll carry those negative emotions. So it's important that we surrender those negative emotions and give them back to the Creator and give them back to Spirit. And the snake's job is to do just that. Her job, just based simply on the fact that she sheds her skin 2 or 3 times a year. She sheds her skin because it no longer serves her, and she teaches us to do the same. And that's why there's 2 of them wrapped around the medical symbol, the caduceus, which isn't truly the medical symbol. They've adopted it as their medical symbol, but doesn't really mean healing or medicine. The one that has the 2 snakes around the staff with the wings, but that's why they're there, because they're a symbol of healing and shedding and letting go and moving on. So snake teaches us to surrender. Snake says, you know, this is bigger than you. Stop trying to make it work. Stop trying to manipulate it so that you come out on top. Surrender it. Give it over to the Creator. Give it over to Spirit, and trust that they will take care of it for you. And okay, so what if the snake, you know, is a venomous snake? Well, in my world, a venomous snake is there to teach us how to heal, because a snake, when it bites you, they give you a medicine called antivenom, and antivenom is derived from the actual venom of the snake. So the snake holds within it the medicine to heal itself, like it has the antibodies or whatever it is in those to create the healing elixir, if you like. So yes, it can kill you, but it can also heal you, and the snake knows that. So it's your choice, if you like, whether you do die from snake bite, because if you get to the doctors, any doctor, they'll have antivenom there of some kind, because a lot of them are interchangeable. That's why no one dies of snake bite, or very, very rare, unless you're stuck out in the outback somewhere where there's no doctor in, you know, for thousands of kilometers, then there's a big chance that'll happen. But, you know, it's the stories or the reports are still very, very small. It's still very, very, doesn't happen. So understand that the animals, the animals that represent your shadow side, or your shadow totems, I call them, they represent that part of yourself, the darkness you haven't shed light on yet. And just know that's all they want. They just want you to acknowledge that, and they become a dear friend. So people who have healed themselves by working with snake soon realize that they have the power of the knowledge to be able to guide others to find that same place of healing because they've worked intimately with snake. Does that make sense? So spider is all about making decisions, reweaving your life web, making decisions. People who don't like spiders, quite frankly, are no good at making decisions. They ask everyone else for their advice and they feel guilty if they make a decision for themselves because then they think they're letting everyone else down, blah, blah, blah. So that's why they're afraid of spiders. It's about decisions, it's about making choices. People who don't like rats, usually because they've been abandoned at some point in their life. They've been left to their own devices when they needed support. Could be because a loved one has passed away or died or just packed up and moved away. So if you don't like rats, look at those relationships and those contracts, if you like, those verbal contracts or written contracts you've had with others, which is more mouse actually. Mouse is more about contracts and agreements, but they are related, so you can look at mouse for that. If people don't like mice, I can't understand why people don't like mice, but contracts and agreements, so look at the past, look at how many times you have been let down or a contract or a promise has been broken or that you've broken one, and understand that if mice are in your life right now, it's probably because we're about to go through the same process or there's things that we need to address relationship wise or in a professional relationship, even if it's not a personal one. Okay, so what happens then if so that's what the shadow totems are, the animals you don't like. That's what they're trying to shed light. They're trying to bring you clarity and understanding. Okay, so it's not about scaring you or intimidating you. It's not. It is a little bit like bullying you into taking responsibility, but they don't mean it like that. They want you to understand they're here to offer support. And people often ask me, so what happens if I start dreaming of my dead pets? What if are they my totems? Can they be? Yeah, they can. They can be a spirit guide. They can come through and offer support from the other side, because in my world, and I've written a wonderful book called Afterworld, which is basically the journey of the soul from our world, after we've shed our earthly robes, our body, and we move to the spirit world. It sort of maps what happens after that. And all that information came to me from loved ones who had passed away and came to me in dreams and shared stuff with me. But the animals were there as well. So, there's a whole chapter on animals in the spirit world, or the spirit animals, if you like, or how they support us from the other side. So dead pets or pets that have passed away, or even pets that you might have put Tiddles the cat down because she was so old and couldn't stand up anymore, and guilt, the guilt that comes with making that decision. Tiddles might come to you in a dream just to simply let you know that she made it there and she's much happier now, and so not to have any guilt or shame. I ask those questions all the time. But Tiddles, the cat, you could call on her to offer support as a guide. There's no reason why you can't do that. Lots of the gods and goddesses associate themselves with animals. Even the angelic realm have animal spirits that work through them, or they work through. So don't assume just because Tiddles the cat was just your cat and has passed away that cat can't be of more support in the spirit world. They can in the physical. So please acknowledge that. Okay, the other thing, now we're talking about dead animals, is what happens, because everyone has experienced it, driving along in their car and they see a dead animal on the side of the road. And sometimes we just think, oh, that's a dead squirrel, or that's a dead kangaroo, but sometimes you get this real pull in your heart. You just think, oh gosh, that meant something. I really would love to encourage you to, when you have those experiences, just understand that what if you're looking at everything from the wrong perspective? What if at that point in life you're trying to make a square peg, if you like, fit into a round hole? So maybe seeing a dead animal on the side of the road is saying, look, you're on the right path, but you just need to process a bit better. This isn't going to work. It's no different than doing a tarot spread or a tarot reading, and then a card is pulled out of the deck inverted, upside down. In my world, a dead animal on the side of the road is just like pulling a card in the inverted position. It's like, this is something you need to look at. This is something we're not doing as efficiently as we maybe could, or this is you're on the right track, but shift your perception. Look at it from a different angle or whatever, because it's not going to work. It's like a block. It's a roadblock. It's not because the animal's dead. It's about you're not going to proceed very well. This is not going to end well, or whatever. So just look at it from that perspective. Even in the afterlife, the animals guide us, okay? Mother Earth wants us to thrive. She wants us to all be successful. She wants us all to do well. So she will speak to us once you know what your language is, and mine's the animals, obviously. So once you know what that is, everything is symbolic. Everything holds power. Everything holds knowledge. So be alert, be vigilant, pay attention, keep notes, start a journal. And for example, you might be driving along, there'll be a frog, okay, or you'll be walking through the forest and there'll be a frog. Ask yourself, what is the frog trying to teach me? So frog, we all know that when it's about to rain, the frogs will start to sing. So the frogs are heralding rain. One simple little thing like that. They're welcoming the rain. How does that affect us on a personal level? What if the frog isn't saying, listen, you need to wait for rain? What if the frog's saying, you need to honor your own rain? You've got to honor your tears. What if that's what the frog is teaching us? What if the frog is saying, cleanse your soul? Shed, release the tears, let the water flow, because we always feel really so much better after a good cry. Does that make sense? So frog might be saying, honor the tears. All right, so write that down. That's the message you get. Write it down in your journal. And then when you see frog next time, see if it relates, because the frog will have come because you've just gone through a really emotional patch, or you want to scream at the world, or there's something so emotional going on within you, you don't know how to deal with it. So the frog will say, just cry, for goodness sake, just let it out, shed it, release it. Write that down. The next time you see frog, test it. Is this relevant now? And it will be. I don't know why. They all know their job. They all know their role. They all want us to thrive. So keep a journal. This planet is our mother. We've got to remember that. She's a living entity. She has, and if they've recorded the Earth Mother's heartbeat. There, you Google it. There's a heartbeat, and they've recorded it. All right, so she's a living entity. She loves us. She wants us to thrive. She wants us all to do well. She provides everything we need. Everything. This shirt, this bookshelf, the books themselves, everything comes from her in one form or another. She provides the materials to make those things, which in their own right are living things which we need to acknowledge as well. They're all part of the bigger scheme, and they are no less or more important than we are, and we are no less or more important than they are. And that's the important thing we need to acknowledge. And we need to understand that everything goes around and comes around. And we also understand that if you take a life, you have to repent or show remorse or do something that is respectful. When I say take a life, I mean like when we eat animals, not take each other's lives, because that's another story. It's another workshop. But it's, if we're going to do that and live in that way, we need to do it in harmony. We need to do it with consciousness. We need to do it with respect. We need to do it with gratitude. Because animals eat animals, and they respect one another. They love one another. So you've got the barn owl, and you've got the mouse, you've got the fox, you've got the hare. They both love each other. There's a very ancient primal connection between those two animals, because the fox knows, for example, that without the hare, the fox will starve to death. And the hare knows, because they're prolific breeders, that without fox there to keep their people in check, they'll breed themselves into extinction. They'll have so many hares that there won't be enough feed for them, and they'll starve. So the hare knows that the fox is there as a friend, even though they eat them. And it's no different between owl and mouse. Like, there's this really strong connection. So if you are a mouse person, you love mice, and mice is your totem, understand that the owl can be, or the hawk, or the cat, anything that eats mouse, can be an ally to help you shift your perception. You can look through the eyes of the hawk, for example, and see the bigger picture instead of sitting like a little quivering mouse feeling that the whole world is out to get you. You can shift your perception. You can ask the owl or the hawk to give you the vision to see the bigger picture. Trust me, just try it. It works. Okay, so you've got to build the relationship. All right, so I'll now share with you some techniques to really build that relationship, so that you can start to communicate with the Earth Mother and the animals themselves. So we've chatted about the animals we're not fond of. We've chatted about the animals we love. what happens if you're driving along in your car and there's a really freaky, unusual experience that you have? Like, or you're in an aeroplane, for example, and suddenly someone says, "There's a bird," or you realize there's a mosquito on your arm, and you think, "That's a weird place. We're in an aeroplane. I'm getting bitten by a mosquito." Those unusual animal encounters are the Earth Mother or the spirits tapping you on your shoulder and saying, "Listen, we've been trying to chat and you're just not paying attention, so we just thought we'd make this really freaking obvious to get your attention so that you can, you know." So ask yourself, when you have those encounters, what was I thinking about or pondering or questioning just before that animal encounter happened? That'll be the Earth Mother trying to answer that question or trying to support you or help you. Okay, it is it's that simple. It's that easy. And it's very important that we trust the answers that we get. Okay, so ask yourself, what was I doing or thinking or questioning just before that animal encounter? And the animal who you encountered will be teaching you. So back to the mosquito in the aeroplane. A lot of people think that mosquitoes speak about parasitic energy. It's about someone trying to suck your blood or suck your energy. There's lots of other animals that teach that. In my world, the mosquito is because of an ancient Japanese legend about the mosquitoes. I loved this story growing up, and so it's become to me a symbol of our ancestors. So or a blood relation in spirit. So when I'm being bothered by a mosquito, I know it's someone who's blood related to me, who wants me to still my mind and to listen. Insects are all about stillness. They're all about the quietening of the mind, like the praying mantis who just stands and sits silently waiting for its prey to come, and it sits in this position of like chatting to the spirits, if you like. That's why they're called praying mantises. They're all about that stillness and that connection to the spirit world. So, you know, it's the mosquito in an airplane. Squat it, sure, but ask it to evolve. You say, evolve. It becomes something less bothersome next time around, maybe a little fluffy bunny or something. But if you're going to go down that path of squatting the animal or swatting the animal, the mosquito, first of all, before you do that, ask yourself, who in the spirit world would be wanting to chat to me right now? Why is it important that they're reaching out, making me stop and realize this is terribly important? And when you figured out who it might be, chat to that person, do a prayer. You know, I've got several different ways that I pray to the spirits, but if you can just offer a little prayer, they will answer. You'll receive a dream, and they'll come to you in the dream and they'll tell you stuff, or you'll suddenly be their favorite song will come on, and if you listen to the lyrics, there'll be keys there, like clues. You'll suddenly be you might receive an email from a long lost family member who wants to share some news about the family, or there'll be an interaction of some kind. Now, when I say prayer, I don't mean sitting down by the side of your bed, you know, doing the prayer to God and the ancients and the ancestors. Simply, I go outside and I just say this: listen up, guys. I've got something I need to ask, and I'll share that information as clearly as I can. I'll say it out loud. I'll actually say it. And then I might tie, for example, a little ribbon in a tree, and that ribbon represents that prayer. So when I go out and see the ribbon in the tree, I'll be reminded of my prayer. So I don't need to ask it again, because it's triggered, it's reminded, and that makes me alert again for the answer or the response. Okay, so I might look up and see an eagle, and I'll know that the spirits are working on it. It's like a thumbs up to see an eagle circling in our family. It's like, good job, we're onto it. We hear you, we're onto it. I might get that, but there'll be lots of different ways that I'll know that the spirits are listening. But I just want to chat about prayer, because it is something that can be so simple. I've got this little medicine pouch. You've all seen a little medicine pouch? In there is a little crystal. There's a couple of other little private things that are like symbolic to me. There's a little owl charm, because the owl's my totem, my power animal, sorry. There's crystals, there's some seeds, there's all sorts of stuff in there. And this is an old one. So if it was new and I've made it for a purpose now, I certainly wouldn't be telling you what's in there. But it's a little pouch, and in there are symbols that represent my connection to spirit. And I'll hold that, and I'll breathe into it, and I'll say my prayer, because it's a prayer pouch. It holds my prayers. It knows who I am. It's got a little connection to me. I might want to offer the spirit something. So I have my little, this is a pouch, and in the pouch is tobacco. You think, gosh, why would you have tobacco in there? Well, tobacco is what a lot of people associate with Native America and the Native American people, and how they, you know, the true people of the original people of America, and they all have their pipes or they'll do prayers, and they often associate tobacco because of the sacred connection between the tobacco and a spirit, the connection to the spirit world. I won't go into that right now, but I'll take, because it's, we haven't got time, that's another workshop, but if you take a pinch of the tobacco and breathe it, kiss it, share a bit of your DNA with it so it makes it personal to you, and then hold it up and offer a prayer to the creator spirit, and knowing that that little piece of tobacco is an offering that we can then place on the earth as a thank you. Even if the spirits don't act on it, it's still acknowledging the fact that you've approached an elder or someone who has knowledge. You're approaching them and saying, I humbly ask for your support and your help. Here's an offering that is important to me, to let you know that I'm committed. And so you place it on the earth, and it's a physical reminder. It's like an anchor, if you like, that really holds your intention in place. Okay, prayer can be like, and then offer your prayer. All right, prayer is such a personal thing. You can light a candle if you want, but what if you're out and about and you don't have a candle? That doesn't stop you from chatting to the Creator, or chatting to the Earth Mother, or chatting to the ancestors. It doesn't stop you from doing that. If you do have, for example, little representations, like here's my little rose quartz fox, so you can see that little rose quartz fox. I have a rose quartz owl. I have lots of different statues like this of animals. See behind me up there, all the owls. I might use one of these as a focus if I want to chat to the earth spirits, so the animal spirits, and direct my prayer into a certain direction, point it into a certain direction. If I'm feeling I'm being betrayed, for example, or I've got questions about someone's loyalty or authenticity, I'll ask the owl's support, because the owl sees in the dark. The owl flies silently. Like, if you've ever experienced an owl at night flying, you don't hear them flapping their wings because the air passes through their feathers. So there's no clap, clap, clap sound as they're flapping their wings. So the owl is a silent flyer, a silent hunter. And so the mouse is totally oblivious that the owl is there until it feels its talons in its back. And that's no different to suddenly feeling a knife in the back, if you like, from someone that you loved or thought was loyal. So if I feel like I'm being betrayed, or there's something not right in a situation like work or whatever, and I think maybe this is just my imagination, I'll grab this, for example, not necessarily this one, but something like this that represents the owl. And while I'm praying, I'll hold this with my intention of, I'm speaking to all our spirit, not just this here. It's a focal point. It's like a channel. I'll focus my prayers that way, and the spirits will know exactly what I'm talking about, because I've taken the time to find my channel. Okay, so you think about that too. There's lots of different ways you can bring the animal spirits in to your prayers and your connection to the Creator, you know, that are practical and simple and non-threatening. Okay, so let's just chat about dog and cat, because it's a fun way to end. If this was a workshop and you were in front of me, I'd say, everyone who loves dog, put your hand up. Or everyone who loves cat, put your hand up. Which would be your favorite? Just imagine there's a mothership, like a UFO. Don't try this at home. There's a UFO and it's loading, and it's hovering above your house, and it's saying, and there's an announcement, like a boom speaker, you know. You're welcome to join us on this ship, but you can only, and you're allowed to bring a pet, but you can only bring a dog or a cat. You can't take both. Who would you take? So I believe in my world that we all carry the archetypal energy of like we will all have dog and cat in there somewhere, but we have one prominent over the other, like one that is more prominent. So here's a fun list, okay? Cat people, if they're going to wear underwear, they'll be design a label, because you never know when you get hit by a bus. This is lighthearted, okay, humorous, but true at the same time. Cat people often don't get married until much later in life, and their career becomes their crutch, if you like, or their way of escape, because often, pardon me, often they've been hurt or overlooked or abused at some point in their life, and they've lost that trust in others. So they'll use work as their way of making excuses, if you like, for not having a partner or not having children or not having or being a part of a community like a dog person might be. And they'll take it to the next level by saying, okay, would you actually like to catch up after work? How about we go to the cafe or somewhere like that? People love cafes, where they can have a latte or something like that. That you very rarely see them hanging out at a pub like a dog person, because that's pack oriented. It's like a social place. So they'll meet you at the cafe rather than take you home to their place or meet you at their house, because their home is their sanctuary and they don't want anyone touching things, and everything they have in their home, cat people, is often representational of a sacred or important time in their life, and they don't want anyone asking questions about that. Dog people, their home is open, like their door's open. There's many people coming and going. Cat people can't live like that. Cat people, they may get to a point in their life later on where they think, okay, it's time I think I started trusting and opening my heart to someone else, and I might start experimenting by bringing, dating or whatever, but the trust comes much later. It's very hard for them to build that trust. Dog people, very pack oriented, they'll combine families, they'll take on each other's children, like they'll hang out in parks and places like that, and have picnics. Cat people don't have picnics, they go to cafes. They can't see the point in putting food in a basket and driving half an hour down the road just to pull it all out and eat it and then put it back in the basket to take it home. We could easily just go to a cafe. Dog people are all about the social interaction, the fun, the laughter. Cat people drink champagne or alcohol out of an appropriate glass. Dog people will drink it straight from the bottle, or anything that holds liquid, because they're more into beer. Cat people are more into wine, appropriate wine glasses. Cat people, they prefer nightclubs rather than pubs, because nightclubs, it's dark and the lights are flashing and the music's booming. They can leave without anyone noticing, whereas a pub is very social. If you get up to leave, everyone wants to know where you're going and why you're leaving so soon. Cat people can't handle that. Anyway, so it's just to have a think about how your relationship to the rest of the world and how you view the world. You'll find whether you're a dog person or a cat person quite easy. Dog people, and the reason I mentioned underwear is because where I live, it's very alternative. The Byron Bay is a very alternative part of the world, and underwear is optional. So you'll often find a lot of dog people at the beach, naked up this way, because they're comfortable doing that. It's about the experience. It's not about their body as such. Whereas cat people, it's all about the opposite. Your cat people won't even go to the beach, which is funny because they don't like getting the sand in their car afterwards. Whereas dog people will put their wet dog into the car when it's covered in sand, whereas a cat person would never do that. Anyway, just understand that you have these animals with you at all times. They are helping you to making up who you are, like they're helping to put together that jigsaw puzzle for you. We also all have a strong connection to eagles, so just understand that you have eagle as a primary totem, no matter what anyone says you do, because the eagle represents the creator spirit. And if you have a spiritual heart or a spiritual mind, and even if you don't, you're still put here by someone, and that in my world is the creator spirit who destined us to be here, and that is the eagle, because the eagle is the highest flying bird, flies closest to the sun and can see all the things that spirit can see. So eagle is the embodiment of the creator spirit in many ways. Dolphin is, its primary message is breath and breathing and surrendering fear and anxiety through breath. We all have that as one of our totems too. We're all born into this world, and we all have to do the best we can. And dolphin's message is breathe. Don't hold your breath, breathe. Relax and just breathe. When you're giving birth to a child, breathe. When you're studying for an exam, just breathe and let the creative juices flow, and there'll be no more blockages. We all have dolphin. We all have it. The last one I want to talk about is the deer, and we are all associated to deer in one way or another. Deer represents community. It talks about humility. It talks about acceptance and tolerance and patience and tranquility and calm. And if you've ever seen those candle holders, like a base where the candle and the people with their arms interlinked and making a circle with the flame in the center, that is typical Dear Medicine, because it talks about us all working as one. It talks about us all acknowledging each other as equal. It talks about no head of the table, that we're all important. We share it, living in a circle where everything goes around, comes around, and that's deer. We all have deer. We all have eagle. We all have dolphin. We all have dog and cat, but one of them primarily. So let's just start our list of totems with those, and just understand that this is just the beginning. I could have chatted all day about this. I was allocated an hour. That time has just finished. So I would like to say thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute joy, an absolute pleasure to chat. I hope what I've shared, I've tried to squeeze in as much as I possibly can in this short amount of time. If you want to know more, you can find me at animaldreaming.com. Animaldreaming.com. I'm on Facebook. You can find me there. Scott Alexander King. You can search for me there. On Instagram is the same. Scott Alexander King. You'll find me. Okay, and all my books and cards, you know, like my Creature Teacher cards. I didn't get a chance to talk about any of these. My World Animal Dreaming cards. Look, there's heaps. All on the website there. Find me, send me a message, connect, and hopefully when COVID's done and dusted and I get to come back to London and speak at the Mind Body Spirit Festival, we can meet in person. How cool would that be? So you enjoy yourself, guys. Have a great afternoon or great evening, and thank you for sharing this time with me. I've had an absolute ball. It's been brilliant, and I can't wait to do it again soon. So thank you everyone at the Mind Body Spirit Festival for inviting me, and thank you everyone for joining me today. I really, really appreciate it. See you later, guys. Catch you later.